Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me from wherever in the world you are right now. My name is Micah Branch. I am one of the retreat interns slash coordinators for PARC's 2025 Playwrights Retreat. And I am joined by one of the participating playwrights for this year, Alora Simon, the playwright for The Next Day. Alora, how are you doing?
I'm feeling wonderful, Micah. I'm feeling refreshed.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic. Hopefully, this retreat will help increase that feeling of refreshingness, which is not a word. If I understand right, you're more historically a designer than you are a playwright. Is that right?
This is correct. For the last couple years, I've been working on sets. I've been working backstage with costumes, anything I can really get my hands on, like material wise. And I've always, found pride in that. But with playwriting, it's putting words to paper, which is something I haven't been great at in the past. Just ask my professors. But this retreat has given me an opportunity to feel safe in my work and for allowing me to express kind of what I want to say in a way that makes sense to me.
I love that. My gosh, that's so sweet. How has your time here been so far with the retreat? You are a Tantramar local, but you're staying for a while in one of our accommodations in Anchorage House. How has it been so far?
It's been very different than what I've experienced so far. It's kind of, you surround yourself with all these wonderful, talented, beautiful people, and it kind of brings out it brings out the best in your work and others, and you kind of surround yourself in this community of theater creators, and you feel supported and you feel loved, and you don't feel like you need to be scared when you're sharing your work, because that's exactly what you're doing. You're sharing, and you're sharing your time with other people as well.
That's so lovely. That's something I really like about the retreat
Oh,
specifically, is
yeah.
that it not only brings together people of all backgrounds and like experience levels, but that they give this opportunity to folks who have like their 40th play out or people who
Yeah.
are emerging playwrights working on their very first pieces.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. I love it. Um, and as we talk about maybe working on playwriting for the first time, would you tell me a little bit about your script? Tell us about The Next Day and why you felt it was an important story to tell.
So my script the next day is down to its core is a love story, but not a love story that you would see in media or anything, this idea of love that people seem to fantasize, that everything will make sense if you fall in love. That's not always the case. Sometimes you find love and then it gets ugly, and you have to make sacrifices, and you have to pick your battles in order to keep that love. And it's ultimately your choice to figure out what to do and where to go. But the script and the story really centers in on these two individuals. They're unnamed. They just bought a house. They're engaged. They have this whole life planned, and they're ready. She's a chemist working for a pharmaceutical company, and he's a preschool teacher. So they are very different bodies, but they find a way to be together. But when she falls unexpectedly pregnant, their whole kind of future has to be put on pause. And the irony comes from her job, which is trying to find a birth control form that works for the women in the world that can't use birth control for whatever reason. So she's has this moral dilemma between her job and the irony of falling pregnant. And he's a preschool teacher, so he's around kids all the time, and they kind of have to find a way to navigate their own feelings for the sake of this future. And it's very early in the beginning of the script, but they come to a conclusion of termination. And with that decision, there's a waiting period, and the story kind of follows the days leading up to when the procedure has to be done, and how that one decision made within like 1 hour can affect 6 years worth of a relationship, and how people change when they are in love, whether that's for the good or for the bad. And they kind of just have to figure out what they want, who they are, and what their future means to them.
Yeah. Figuring out what's happening the next day.
Huh.
You see what I did there?
Thank you. They did. Yeah.
I love that. I would love to know as well, like, as you create this story, I know it's in its early stages, which is like also terrifying and exciting at the same time.
Yeah.
Who or what do you draw from for inspiration as a writer? Are there like artists you look up to or themes you keep coming back to again and again?
There are definitely people who I go back to. Being a local, I've had the opportunity to grow with the community and to see people go, to see people come into the community. And I've had the privilege of being the person who starts in the community all the way up to mentoring somebody. And that's always something wonderful. And I feel very at home with this community, which helps me figure out and navigate what I want with theater in general. But what really inspires my work as a writer would be the people who work behind the scenes, who, yes, we have actors and we have directors, but we also have tech, we have the designers, we have choreographers, we have everyone who is able to create theater magic in one way or another, who aren't necessarily sharing the stage during the play, but they are able to make that play happen. And I always find myself coming back to those people. And I think writing this story, I realized that I want to write something for everyone in this production, quote unquote, to feel like they can be creative in their own sense and have fun with the script, because there's a lot of color, there's a lot of shape, and there's a lot of movement that everyone, down from designers, actors, like everybody I feel who has ever worked on a show would find a spot on this script.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of someone who has all this experience in tech and knowing how to incorporate that into your script while also like trying your hand at this new medium for the first time.
Oh, scary.
Absolutely. And I commend you for it. That's so fun. What have you been learning about your writing process as this goes on? I would love to know like how you write, what that looks like, or if that's something you're still figuring out.
It's a work in progress, but the script that I'm writing has been in the process for the last year and a half. So it's been very on and off. But the retreat has really kicked my butt into gear.
Yeah.
And I realized that I write best when I am in my bed, when I am cozy, and when I am, sad as it sounds, isolated, because it feels like I am just so captivated by what's happening. And by being alone and having this safe space to write, I am able to do what I want creatively, and it comes out on paper. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I also have the time to look back and edit and everything. And so I just kind of focus really, and I just try to also listen to my body if it becomes too much. But ultimately, I feel like I write in a way that is cozy to myself and to my body. And I try not to overextend myself, because after I reach my limit, my writing looks weird.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people could, learn something from that of not giving 110% to the point where you can't generate art anymore because you're so
Yeah.
burnt out. That helps nobody. And that's a lesson that I am still on as well. And I'm sure you know as well, being a techie.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
As a designer, you have that experience. And I love incorporating that into your writing.
Yeah.
Alora, thank you so much for joining me. I am so privileged to be here on the first few steps of the next day to see where it might go in the future and how this story might change, or to see what parts might stay the same from now. What a journey to be on. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you so much luck with the retreat.
Thank you, Micah.
See you later. Have a great rest of your day.